Welcome back to Quantum Conversations. My name is Sarah, and today my co-host Carrie Bennett and I are going to be making these complex topics of quantum biology and circadian biology understandable to the everyday person. Thank you so much for tuning in. We ask that if you are listening on audio only, that you take a moment to leave us up to a 5-star review. And if you're on YouTube, leave us a like, leave us a comment. It will help to get the show out to more people. And before we jump into today's topic, just a quick reminder to head down to the show notes and check out my free resources as well as Carrie's free resources. We also do have courses on a variety of topics. If you are hoping to dive deeper, Carrie and I both have practitioner courses available as well for anyone who wants to begin to bring these topics to their clients and help them to implement these strategies into their daily lives. So check those out. We also have a co-taught course called Quantum Fertility that is available that allows people and practitioners to work on their fertility using these principles of quantum biology and circadian biology. Again, thank you so much for listening or watching today's show, whichever one you are doing. And let's go ahead and jump into it now. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Quantum Conversations. Today, we're going to talk about...
how friends and family do not make the most ideal clients. So,
well, I think this conversation stems from us really getting a lot of questions in our communities from people who are like, how do I help my mom? How do I help my teenagers? How do I help my husband? You know, my cousin, my brother, like they're your loved ones, like they want to help. And then occasionally you'll even have a loved one that's going through a health crisis. And unless it's a child, it's going to be hard to help that person, right?
Well, the thing is that like oftentimes when people first learn this information, it's almost like, okay, yes, it makes sense, but almost everyone's gateway into this is some kind of a device. Well, I got a molecular hydrogen machine and a red light therapy panel and methylene blue, right? Like, it's like, I got these things and I'm using them, or I told my cousin's using them, but she's not feeling any better. So like, what can I tell her? And it's like, listen,
those aren't the things.
Those aren't the things. I know. And unless she's really willing to buy into
you got to do the other stuff too.
You got to do the other stuff, right? And that's the basics is really what it is. And people don't believe if they've not been listening to this information, like, our listeners, like if they haven't been listening to this information, then they don't recognize the importance of that. So they put those things on the back burner. Or they just want what's the one thing I can buy to make this.
I get that question a lot in my group. Should I buy the hydrogen machine or should I get deuterium depleted water? And usually my answer is neither. Because we need to really talk about what's happening in your day, in your environment. I want to talk about your light exposure, your sun exposure. We talked about UV light in our last episode and the importance of that. And light in general, sunlight in general, how it's a health hazard to avoid it. So if I've got somebody who's like literally staying indoors all day, or the first time they go outside is at 9:00 when they're walking from their house to their car, you're missing, and you want to go buy a device or a case of deuterium depleted water, I'm just going to say no. Like it's not going to help you the same way. You know? Yeah.
I think both of us also have had family members in our lives, like, who kind of buy into partial things, right? But there's also this thing about, like, I hate to tell all you people who want to share these things with friends and family, it's great and all, but believe it or not, even my family doesn't, not all my family, even a lot of my family doesn't quote unquote buy into this stuff because it's coming from me. I'm their family member, right? Like if this was coming from you, maybe Sarah, or if it was coming from someone else, maybe they would start to, but like, there's just something too about like, how could my family member be so, well-versed in something that's supposed to heal my body? It's tough. It's really tough. Yeah. So, we've been there with done that. And
I'm in the middle of it big time. I've got health crises going on with immediate family members, not my husband and daughter, and son, but like other immediate family members. And I want to say stuff and I want to do, and I'm just like, I know at this point I'm almost 45 years old. I know how this is going to go. It's not going to go well. I love these people very dearly. And if they want my help, they will ask
Right.
because they're not going to do what I say. And it's
I
hard. It's a
know.
tough situation to be in when you
It's
see
hard.
your loved ones suffering and you're like,
I
there's
know.
actually a fix to this that doesn't have anything to do with the prescription or it's
Yeah.
tough.
I
Yeah.
know. I have some, yeah. I have family members who it's chronic, like debilitating depression, anxiety, and
Mhm,
chronic
mhm,
fatigue, but
mhm.
yet the sleeping, these are younger individuals sleeping with iPads and AirPods, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh
it's
yeah.
just like, I'm like, and it's like, I
Or
just
with the
have,
TV on in the
or with the
bedroom.
TV on in the bedroom, or, every time I see them outside, they're wearing sunglasses, or it's just,
Mhm.
to me, I've gone down the rabbit hole with family members. Some of my family members have listened, so I appreciate you, family, and some of them, it's
None of
just,
my family members, including my husband, nobody listens to this.
I don't think anyone
And I'm
listens to this.
okay with it. I'm
No,
like,
actually, I don't think anyone listens to this. But I'm saying some of them have listened to me.
ah,
Like I've got a couple of people who have actually listened and have noticed a benefit. But like, it's okay. The
yeah,
vast
yeah,
majority have it. And like you said, they want, like, when my family members come to me, they're like, oftentimes they're like, what supplement can I take? And it's like, I'm like,
right.
it's just
That's not
not.
it.
It's
That's not
just
the
not
ticket.
it. Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
unfortunate, but it's like at the same time, they're not ready, like
Mhm.
you said. And
It's
even
tough.
even if they did come to me asking for help, which I would absolutely honor, they would still have to go through the entire process of learning about light, applying light, learning about
Mhm.
mindset, applying mindset, learning about exclusion zone water and how to make it not what you drink
Right.
necessarily,
It's your
right?
body.
How
It's
your
the
body makes it.
yeah.
I mean, so there's this layer, there's this foundational layer that you and I lay in clinical practice and with our
Mhm.
communities, that if it's missing, or if people just aren't willing to hear the information, or they think it's stupid to earth, or they think it's doesn't make any sense for them to block artificial light at night, then it is what it is at this point in time. And what
Right.
you and I have found is it's really good just to model the
Mhm.
behaviors that we
Mhm.
want our family members to
Mhm.
ultimately maybe see
Right.
and do. But at the
Embody.
same
Yeah.
time, it's very hard with this type of stuff to get people to buy into it,
Right.
unless they're truly in more of the weeds with listening and interacting with this information.
Or they get to the point where they actually are in a place they realize that these things that they're trying to do are not working and they're kind of a dead end. And like that's my husband's been watching me go through all this stuff for years and watching me go outside for sunrise. And Sarah Pugh just spent 2 months here. He watched us outside every single morning, rain or shine. And, he is dealing with some of his own stuff. And I said, I can't be the one. And I didn't want, and I've been telling him this stuff for the longest time. But we hired somebody who is a doctor in this space to do some one-on-one coaching with him. And now he's like, I told you before we recorded this, he comes to me yesterday and he's like, Sarah, it's the structured water. It's the water. And I was like, yes, like I want to, I'm so excited that now he's kind of like the dots are connecting and he's like, oh, that's why you do that. And that's why this is important. And this is how this works. But he had to go, and how many years have I been doing this?
Right.
He had to go through his own thing and say, I need some help. And I know it's not going to work for me to have my wife coach me. It's just not going to be good for our relationship. And now he's receptive to the information and doing it. He was outside this morning, grounding at 6:30 this morning when sun was coming up. And I was like, okay, we are doing this, like continue to
Yeah.
please see this doctor and get the coaching and do it. But it's tough. And we get these, people all the time. I know you just want to help your family members, but you have to model it. And that person there has to be a point where they're ready to receive the information. And it may not come from you,
And yeah, I was going to say, and if they're not willing to hear it from you, then find someone who you
Find
like, who
someone.
teaches it,
Yeah.
that they maybe can connect with and help them through it. Because yeah, obviously we value this information in terms of how healing it can
Yeah.
be for people. And we want the world to know
Yeah.
about it. But at the same time, like you said, people need to be ready. It's why I don't actually let people, I stopped a long time ago. This was a while back, letting people purchase sessions for family members.
I don't do that. Sarah
Family
doesn't do
members,
it either.
they don't, if they're not ready
They're not
for
motivated.
this, number one, if they're not motivated and if they're not ready for this type of like this information is just wacky for some people. If they hear it, they're like, you want me to do what? And it was just like, yeah, we can't make this a situation where
you
people
have to be in a place to want to understand this stuff and apply it in your life, because it is different. It's not hard once you start doing it. It's not hard to understand or grasp it. You're kind of like, wow, I wish this is so intuitive. It makes so much sense. But you, again, have to be in a place where you're ready to reject these other paradigms and truly understand they're not working for you,
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So then if you do have a family member in that position, then start directing them to podcasts or, social media posts or things like that. That's where you can really start to trickle this information in.
Yeah.
And then, there's the other aspect too of it where it's like, just because your family members aren't doing all this stuff doesn't mean that you can't do it either. It doesn't mean that you still can't heal your body. Right. And so we've been in that same position where family members aren't necessarily compliant with what we are doing. And it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. I know my husband will still, he's learning this stuff still. So he'll at night, I'm laying on my acupressure mat, relaxing, just kind of doing some deep breathing, and he'll come with his phone still totally on blue laying next to me. I'm like, no. He's learned now, phone does not come to bed. Bed does not, bed and phone. No, not okay. It's just taken a while, but yeah. But he was open to finally understanding why, me explaining it. And now he's because we're talking about, possibly moving out of this house and looking at a new house. He's like, what about EMF? He's like, what are we going to do about EMF in the new house? And I'm like,
words your husband would not have said 3 years ago.
No, he wouldn't have said that 1 year ago. But now he's like, oh, maybe the EMF, because he's been around Sarah and she's so.
But that's the thing too, though, with while Sarah was there for a while and doing the same things as you, she was also, though, another voice. It takes some kind of an outside voice to start to be like, okay, I want to take this more seriously. Let me find a practitioner who I resonate with, who can share some really great information. Because I believe that this has the potential to be healing, but even then Sarah was too close to the contact ultimately to fully swing him in the quantum direction.
Exactly. I mean, he did. I bought him an analemma wand. He still hasn't taken it out of the box yet, but
it's all about the structured water.
Exactly. That's what I said last night. I said, so now that you understand structured water, are you going to take the analemma wand out of the box? And he's like, no, I'm probably just going to do more grounding. And I was like, okay. He's like, I'm just probably going to do more infrared sauna and grounding for now. And I'm like, well, that's actually better than the analemma wand.
Yeah,
so
that's how your body structures that water. So he's learning.
Again, you don't need the gadgets in order for your body to make the water and hold on to it appropriately. You don't need the gadgets necessarily. Yeah.
I'm just thinking we absolutely do need to have Stephen on to talk about.
Oh yeah. Stuff. Matt was saying that this morning. He was like, fun. Yeah, I think so too. Cause he really gets this, and he's just done some really amazing things that it breaks a lot of the rules. We're talking about Dr. Stephen Hussey. That's who my husband's kind of getting some coaching from right now. He's just done some really amazing, groundbreaking things. And he and I ran on a really similar kind of trajectory. I met him in 2019, early 2019.
Oh, really?
We were both doing carnivore, and we were both kind of on the upswing of carnivore, and we were really bought into it. And then I started having my problems with fertility. And at the same time, he had a heart attack. And we met to do a podcast because he was promoting his book. And we both kind of had this what this carnivore thing is kind of falling apart in front of our eyes, because we've had I've had miscarriages, you've had this. there's more to the story than the food. And like he and I he was already doing a lot of the grounding and that kind of stuff, but he had to take quantum biology and circadian biology because of his health crisis to a whole new level. Which I was just like, I've just been really fascinated to watch him grow and change as a practitioner in this framework, because sometimes you do have to have a health crisis. And he, like you and I had talked about, he's had blockages and things. Doctors are just like, how the hell did you clear that? Like they're doing ultrasounds on different areas of the body and they're like, this was blocked and it's clear. It's like, yeah. And they don't, he said they're not really asking him how he's doing it.
I was going to say that.
They're not, he's like, I wish they would ask me, but they're not asking me how I'm clearing these things.
This is another one though, Sarah, people need to realize, don't try to convince
your doctor.
Your doctor's not going to necessarily care.
No, they don't, because they never have with me. Like I had fibroids that were so painful in my mid 30s that I had to have surgery to remove these like golf ball sized fibroids. And that was when I shifted, when I stopped, I was like, okay, that's it. No more processed foods. I'm going to just eliminate grains, nuts, all this stuff. I'm just going to get rid of it. And ever since I just made that simple change, and people think I'm such a, food elitist or snob or whatever. I was like, no, I literally was doubled over in pain constantly because of these dang fibroids. And my doctor said, well, they're just going to grow back. We'll take them out, but they're just going to grow back. And I said, no, they're not. And that's one of the things that got me more into paleo. I just did paleo. I didn't even do carnivore or keto, and the fibroids have never returned. And it's been 10 years now since I had that surgery. And every time my doctor is like, oh, we can check for them. And I had to go through all these ultrasounds before pregnancy. And when I was going through all the other stuff, no fibroids, never came back. And so, but not once did she ask me what I had been doing. Never over the 10 years has she ever said, so how did you get rid of these fibroids and have them never to come back? Never. So Carrie, I don't know about you, but I'm doing a couple little trips this summer. And what is the one thing that you're definitely going to be bringing with you on your packing list?
I love portable red light therapy for sure. Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. Yes. You can't underestimate, honestly, what red light therapy can quote unquote treat or support when you're away from like eating something that disagrees with you to like your kid falls and scrapes the knee and you want to do a little extra repair and support, to a headache, to an earache, to like, you name it. And just then as general maintenance, right? Or like, let's say you're at the beach, you want to precondition your skin, right? All these things. And or
you're traveling on an airplane and you want to kind of offset some of that mitochondrial damage that naturally happen from being in a plane. Like I know Dr. Sarah brings her this is our Bond Charge Mini, and you can use the code Quantum Pod to save on yours, but I know she will just kind of put it with thyroid, right? Because when you're in an airplane, you are exposed to high levels of non-native EMF, and a little panel could be a great way to support your mitochondria to make more exclusion zone water so that there's a little bit of a protective barrier when you're in those high stress environments, right?
Exactly. And then also in a pinch, I'll use that, like, let's say in a hotel room or something, to turn on a light if I need to, right? It's just in a pinch, it's a really good way just to kind of almost like act as a flashlight or illuminate the space at night, if you need to for some reason. So I have found so many uses for that portable red light therapy.
Yep. It's awesome. So if you are interested in one of these, you can use the code Quantum Pod. This is by Bond Charge. They are sponsoring the podcast. We really appreciate that. And check them out. There's a link down in the show notes.
I've heard that with clients who have overcome cancer using more alternative therapies as well.
Yeah.
It's almost inconvenient for doctors.
It is. It is. It's very inconvenient. And so that's why, you have to heal yourself, to a certain extent. You hold the cards a lot more than you think you do. And same with your family member, but they have to get to that place where they're ready to hear it. And you may not be the one that's able to give them that information.
Yeah. And so don't be offended. Don't burn what I'm saying. Don't burn family or friend bridges. Yeah. Yeah. I
Mm-mm.
mean, I have no problem still going to lunch with,
Yeah.
friends and family members. And I like to sit outside. And so if they can, if they put sunglasses on and sit outside, it is what it is. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I went to the beach with my sister while I was pregnant and she was like, so like, why do you keep turning off? Cause she would just turn on all the lights and I'm like, like I would just have this
It's
like
visceral.
this is like literally a visceral reaction. I'm like, like lights. And I took a video of them and I show on slow-mo and I showed her, I was like, this is what's happening in your brain. And she was like, I feel fine. I'm like, of course you do. Like, I just,
Mhm.
and she was like,
Mhm.
okay. I'm like, look, we have all this beautiful natural light. Like, let's crack the window open. Let's not turn them on. And she was okay with it. And then at night, she's like, okay, now you're pulling, now things are getting weird with these glasses that you're wearing. And I'm like, look,
Just
this
let
is
me do
what's,
my thing.
you know, so yeah, but we were able to coexist on vacation, have a good time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it's not for everyone. And I still love my sister dearly, but she thinks I'm crazy as shit, honestly. Excuse my language. She thinks I'm completely insane. But yeah,
Yeah. There's a couple of people who just as a side note, there's a couple of people. So I do playground supervision on Fridays, right, for
oh,
my kids' school, and I love it. I do. And one of the individuals there, I made an assumption, right? He's a pharmacist.
mm,
So I assumed some things about him as a pharmacist. But interestingly, as I slowly trickled in my weirdness into the conversations, because, in between groups coming out, the parents get together and chat. If sometimes it's easier to slowly trickle stuff in instead of bombard people as well.
mhm,
Because
mhm.
when I first learned this, I wanted to literally vomit out everything I knew to everyone. And people just,
Same.
right? People are just like, like I know, right? And so what's been fascinating, and the reason why I know why I slowly trickled it in, I trickled it in because I had made some assumptions about this guy.
Mhm, mhm,
And so slowly but surely I trickled in non-native BMFs and artificial light and circadian rhythm and things like that. And little by little, he was listening,
mhm.
very lovely, open-minded human being. Literally the other day, he came up to me, he's like, I bought Quinton minerals. And so sometimes it's like that slow and steady, just trickle it in
Mhm,
approach
mhm.
also works. You just put the information out there, you let it go, you don't put any
Right. You
attachments,
don't put pressure on
no
it. And
pressure.
I think what's really important with family, with people that you do love and care about, friends, is that you come at it with a spirit of compassion and love and understanding that that person is on their own like life journey
Totally.
and they're going to come to realizations of things or not. And that's not up to you necessarily. And you still love the human behind that, because I've really struggled since I have gone through all the things I've gone through with my sisters in particular, who I love them more than anyone. I just love them dearly. But I just so like I go sometimes to visit and I'm like, nothing here registers to me as food. Like I couldn't eat this because I would just not feel good and it wouldn't satisfy my hunger and my blood sugar would go wonky and it doesn't look like food to me. And I just like, it's hard to watch them raising children and living in this way. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of the stuff that I kind of just really disagree with. But at the end of the day, I have to sit and say, these are the people that I grew up with, that we went through hell and back with our parents and all the stuff we've lived in this shared experience of life together. Am I really going to ruin the relationship? Am I really going to have like ill cross words with them because I disagree with what they're doing? It's hard because you love them and you want them to be here. I don't want you to be sick. They're already, both of them, starting to have health problems in their early 40s, that I'm not in my mid 40s. And I'm just like, God, this is so freaking preventable. But I love them. So I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to go there. I'm going to show up for the family birthday party. I'm going to show up for the holidays. I'm going to show up for lunch. I'll talk on the phone, because that it doesn't have to be your whole life is all these things. And that's a mistake I think a lot of people make, because this information is so transforming and it changes your life, is that you make it your whole personality and you make it who you are. You forget underneath everything that we're these souls inside of these bodies, separate from the food and all these other things. And, you talk about the ether and you talk about
Yeah.
these things, Carrie, and I love the direction that your work is really going in, because it takes us to that other place. But I think that people, they forget that. And it's like you lose connection, which.
Well, the thing is like, if you actually think about it, we're all just one substance, source, God,
we are.
prana,
Yes.
akasha, chi, like, it's been called 97 different names. And so really your sisters are you.
Me, they are.
And so you just love, right? You just love.
Exactly. You do.
I mean, that's one of the things that it's taken me a long time. I went through, you've done this too. We probably talked about this for sets where, as I became aware of what's going on in the world, from various substances to the food systems to technology, like step one for me was just to get so mad and to argue with people about, but no, that's horrible, blah, blah. And then I'm not saying I'm better than anyone, because I'm still on a definite journey. We all are. But I've reached this point where I realized I just gotta love.
Right.
I just gotta love and have compassion. And it's not my place. That's not my place there. Now, are there atrocities happening in places? Absolutely there are. Do I condone them? No, I absolutely do not condone them. But at the same time, I truly believe that if I am a symbol of peace and love and compassion, due to what I know that energy can do to the collective conscious, that influences everyone. And so if more of us can get into that mindset of this shared energy that we literally are all connected with, and if we change the information and energy in that shared consciousness, that's so powerful. It's been polluted over the course of the past 4 years for various reasons, with a lot of fear. And I think we need to completely start to shift it again. And, it's a big baby pie in the sky view of how things can happen, but it's just what I feel in my heart really needs to happen, is I have to live a life of love and compassion.
Agree 100%. Yeah. And I think that's where this whole episode, I think that's the crux of the episode, where we really want to get people to, is to stop thinking that it's up to you to change someone's personal journey or evolution if they haven't come to you to ask for help, and then even if they do, you may not be the one who is meant to give them that information. But there are many of us out there that are talking about this now. And I think that's just going to continue to grow over the next 5-10 years. Hopefully this information is going to become more accepted and understood.
We say mainstream.
Yeah. I mean, I hope, I do, I really do. And
the cool part that I'm seeing is that, I mean, this is where I think it needs to go. So if any of you know but there's literally professional athletes and celebrities who are now starting to seek out this type of information. Now, frankly, it's for performance enhancement or injury recovery, or to live longer, look more youthful, feel more youthful. Fine. But it needs to, the way that our society is set up, it needs to trickle down from areas like that. So if we can get more and more people, even in that level, at that level, to start to wear blue blockers at a press conference, post-game press conference, or to a celebrity on the red carpet to wear, you know what I mean? Like little by little, that could all of a sudden this could become big real fast. And that's what I would love to see.
I talk about weight loss. It's not because I'm obsessed with diet culture or looking a certain way or whatever. That's what gets people's attention. I talk about leptin and I talk about weight loss a lot on my social media, because I'll get your attention. I bring you in, and then you're like, oh, wow, there's this whole other way to approach my health, because weight loss is a product of a healthy body that wants to reach homeostasis, right? And so that's my angle in this whole quantum circadian space at this moment in time. That may change in the future.
You're braver than me.
Girl, it's a lot. It's a lot.
I know. You're braver than me. But no, I totally get it, right? I totally get it. It's like, what can we do to pique
To
people's
bring
interest?
people into this so
Either
that they
because a
can,
celebrity does it and their favorite athlete, because their pain point is being addressed, right?
Mhm, mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, I do think it's going to get there, because when people truly sit down and think about it, it's like, oh, of course, light.
Mhm.
I tell people light and mindset, right?
Yeah.
And I know you do
Oh,
too.
yeah.
And it's because, what are the two things that you are surrounded by or have with you at all times?
All
Your
times.
light environment and your
Mhm.
thoughts.
Mm.
And if we can support both of those things to bring your body to homeostasis, it goes a long way in
Yeah,
terms of letting the body heal itself.
it does. 100%. I love it. Well, this has been fun, and look forward to seeing everybody next week.